So after this week's episode of Fruits Basket, combined with last week, we get the Arisa arc in terms of her backstory connecting to Toru's mother, connecting to Toru, and how a gangster eventually became just, someone who could basically punch people, need be, but really is a functioning student working her way through society. And after this episode, I can definitely say she's probably top 5 Fruits Basket characters for me right now, and this was easily my favorite arc because the way the emotional pull was delivered and just overall executed was pretty much different from everything we've seen up to this point. Instead of being sad because something bad has happened, this episode and just this arc in general was sad because of how her life got better. It was sad in a happy way. It just made us feel a lot of different emotions just deep-rooted within our hearts. I think just seeing where she started off to where she ultimately has ended up with present-day Fruits Basket, how she used to push back against her father, the dinner that he'd leave out for her, she would smash in front of him, basically say, "You're not my father, you're useless." Seeing where she eventually ended up because of Toru's mother as well as Toru, she now cooks that same dinner for him and makes sure that he doesn't go back to being an alcoholic, making sure that, he obeys his doctor's orders, and basically she cherishes her father rather than push back against him. Just seeing that level of development, foreshadowing in past episodes, we thought, oh yeah, it's kind of cute she's making sure he's not drinking, but we see where he ultimately ended up and where now he is because of such an amazing daughter and where she eventually went. Deep down, people who walk a life of crime or just, try to rebel against society, deep down, they are craving something that they don't have, or maybe they do have, but feel like they actually deserve it, so they push back against it. For Arisa, she lost her mother. She never had a mother figure, and that kind of spiraled her out of control as it spiraled her father out of control. And to see just how warm and welcoming Toru and her mother were, and just how the more she saw them, the more she interacted with them, the more she realized that that's truly what she wanted, a place to call home, where she could just feel that warmth of a mother that she desperately craved. And I think it was so great seeing just the idea of the gangster life and how she eventually pushed back against that and freed herself. Because something that I saw a lot of people just on different forums and just threads were saying that with last week's episode, they thought it romanticized the gang lifestyle far more than it should, as if, there was no penalties to joining a gang, when, especially with gangs in Japan, it's a very just cancerous thing. It's very toxic, and as you see in this episode, you can lose your life trying to leave them. All that was actually happening is you were seeing it from the perspective of a kind of narrow-viewed girl who didn't have love and just saw things in a way that this seemed like the lifestyle for her. But as you see, once you start opening your eyes to what society and just true human relationships are, you realize that these so-called friends you once had who taught you to not go to school and to, threaten to kill your father were actually holding you down and were very villainous, and you need to escape that. And that's what I love, is how they put you in her perspective, seeing things through a tunnel vision, seeing that, oh yeah, it's fun, they're goofing off, they're joking about killing, but no, they actually would do that, because that's how these gangs operate, and once you try to leave, you might lose your life as they beat you to near death. And I love seeing how she quickly, but also a little bit subtly and slowly, opened up to what she truly wanted. Basically, if you look at her, most people are going to think she's a thug, and especially with how she acted, seeing her interact with Toru is going to cause a lot of people to think that she's bullying her, as if she's being manipulated, as if, she's going to torture such probably the most innocent character in their school, and how she immediately feels like, it's fine if they insult me, but if they insult her or spread rumors about her, it's probably for the best if I just part ways and let her be herself. And to see that just in the middle of her cooking classroom, she made an extra because she wanted her best friend to have one, even though she didn't come to class that day, it just shows just how beautiful and genuine this friendship truly was. And it really gets you on board of why they all are so connected to her mother. Because before this arc, you can just say, yeah, they obviously knew her mother, but why did they have such a connection? Because yeah, you would feel bad for your friend, but why does it feel like they're all so connected? And for someone like Arisa, who never had a mother until Toru's mother, it really just shows just how much of a positive influence she eventually had on her, and even after her death, she can still grow and learn from her words, from her daughter, and just try to be a good person overall. As you see, you have these wannabe gangsters trying to basically, prove that they're the top shit in this world, and that they could beat her up, but eventually, she just says kind of what Toru's mother said to her. If you need to, rebel against society, if you need someone to push back against you, I'll do that for you, but escape while it's not too late. And by the end, after the credits, you see that they're no longer trying to play gangster, they're just trying to imitate basically a girl who they all kind of worship and idolize, but not in a villainous way like we used to see with this kind of gangster wannabe lifestyle. And I thought that was such a beautiful message in just arc overall. It was the most emotionally gripping for me. So emotionally gripping for a character who I really thought would just be a disposable kind of one and done trope. But as we see, every character eventually gets their chance to shine, flourish, and basically become such an amazing person at the end of the day who has their faults but have grown past them or will grow past them. And to see where it all connects from the past all the way up to the present, which I absolutely adore. I thought just seeing just such a broken child, someone who really needed a mother but didn't have one. A father who was just so emotionally scarred by what his wife did to him that he couldn't properly raise his daughter, but of course still put in the effort to make sure she had what she needed, and even if she hated him, at least she was still alive and didn't leave him. Just see how such a beautiful and kind soul such as Toru's mother was able to just, raise her for such a short but meaningful time to really bring her up, and when she was trying to escape the gang, push back against these thugs to make sure she had somewhere to call home and that she was proud of her. That, wanting to be someone's best friend, someone you could be proud of, is such a noble goal. It's not something to be embarrassed by, it's something to cherish and respect. Really shows just the quality and strength to this writer and just the production team overall bringing this wonderful story to life. I really enjoy just the little bits of details we see, such as learning that Toru's politeness actually came from her father, some mannerisms that she eventually picked up on, so it's something that she carries with her. Obviously making sure that her father never leaves her even though he is dead. That core characteristic to him is something that's naturally ingrained to Toru, so he's never too far away, which is a very nice touch and further highlights why Toru is such a precious angel in the world of Fruits Basket and why Toru's mother really adored her, because it's such a cute trait, but also it's something to remember her husband by, which was a very nice touch overall. This episode, just with how they directed it, really giving us so many close-ups to really just highlight how just broken and just hopeful Arisa was in this arc, really showing you just how depressed she was, the subtle body language with how she would slump over, and just the small mannerisms that would fluctuate in her voice. It really shows just the positive influence someone like Toru just naturally has, even when she's emotionally scarred, or when she's not emotionally scarred. This is her core characteristic, to care and nurture for someone, even if that person might stab them in the back. She's someone who wants to bring out the best in everyone. And I think seeing that she was pretty much always like this, someone who just tries to be bubbly and just positive around people, and yeah, she gets scared, embarrassed, and flustered. But at the end of the day, she's someone who just wants to see the best in people, and even if people start spreading rumors, she's not embarrassed to say that someone that most people associate with a thug is her best friend. And yeah, she gets a little embarrassed because she thinks, well, does she actually see me as a best friend? And it's just so touching and sweet seeing where this arc overall went, and I'm really happy to see that it was a two-parter, because imagine this condensed into one part, which if this was not confirmed to be a full adaptation before production started, and we were, assuming that this was just going to be a one-and-done season, maybe they'd get a second season in the future, most production would have squished this down to one episode, and it would have felt not as impactful. Like, they would have been able to get the overall message across, but that slow burn and really getting a good 10 minutes of just them being friends and seeing the bonding with the mother, it really allows it to flourish and lets you see why this person was so positive and such an influence on them that people just can't forget about her, and they cherish her and put her on a pedestal that pretty much no one but Toru seems to get on for characters especially such as Arisa. And I love just how it was such a complex tale that, last week it puts the whole gang lifestyle as, yeah, you can see the negativity to it, but from Arisa's perspective, it was kind of romanticized as something that was good. But as you see with this episode, as she started breaking away from the lifestyle, the true colors in the wolf's teeth pretty much are shown, and it shows you how dangerous lifestyles like these are, and why in the present she's seeing people who used to, resemble her, or maybe still have a chance to escape before it's too late. They haven't joined a gang, they're trying to start one. Stop before it's too late. And even though it was so comedy focused in that scene, it still allowed for just the highlight from the past to the present and how much she's grown and how much of a positive influence Toru's mother really had on her. Not only was this my favorite episode on a written level, I think on a directing level as well is probably my favorite. There's a handful of episodes that really have just, all the episodes have good directing, but there's a handful of really the directing is just on another level. This episode in particular, to just see how well they got inside her mentality and really highlight and just feel like we were a part of this world, and when it had to go beautiful and romantic or just goddamn serious and depressing, it felt like it just captured that beauty so elegantly that you just kind of look at this episode in the grand scheme of what we've seen in Fruits Basket, knowing that this is just the beginning still. There's still so much more story and characters to explore, but this feels like such a different league and just ballpark that you don't know how could you top this, but at the same time you know they will, because there's been so many points throughout this run that you think this is the bar, this is where the goal should be, and they somehow managed to raise the bar even more, and it's just so goddamn impressive. Like I said, she's probably one of my top 5 characters at this point in time. I absolutely adore Arisa. Just, it really highlights who she is in the present, but really fleshing out who she was in the past. It really makes you not only love her more, love Toru more, but most importantly, love Toru's mother even more, and show why she was such a kind soul, and it's just a damn shame that she's not a part of the present. But I guess if she was a part of the present, this story couldn't flourish in the way it is, so excellent episode. Honestly, 10 out of 10 episode of Fruits Basket this week. What did everyone think? Manga readers, anime originals like myself, let me know down in the comment section below. If you did enjoy this video though, be sure to drop a like and also hit that subscribe button if you have been new. So until next time everyone, please take care and have a good one.